Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our PMI New Jersey Women in Leadership meeting. My name is Elaine Tanimura, and I am one of the leaders of this group. I'd like to introduce Mary Verone, as she's going to be talking about AI adoption and prompt creation. Mary?
Okay, I'm going to share my slide. Can everybody see my slide? Or let me know if you can't see it.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Mary Verone. I'm an organizational change manager, former project manager, and I'm excited to take you through this AI adoption and prompt creation. I can go through the deck. There we go. Here is the agenda that we have for tonight. So there's going to be an introduction, the leadership imperative, AI adoption, especially for women, how to talk to AI, Microsoft's Copilot and its prompt gallery, prompts for project managers, adoption and knowledge sources, AI agents, and then we'll end with Q&A. I'll start with myself, introducing myself. There is a QR code in the corner here. Feel free to connect with me and connect with each other. This is a networking event. And also, I would say that I learned about 80% of my AI knowledge, surprisingly, on LinkedIn, not on YouTube, not from books or from other sources. So connecting with each other on LinkedIn is very helpful. So networking really makes a difference. I have, in my experience, 9 AI projects that I've worked on that didn't launch, and then I have one that did launch, finally. Surprisingly, about 11% of AI projects don't actually make it to launch. Some of the challenges that I had, well, let me talk about the biggest challenge I had. It was an AI project, and it was a pharmaceutical company, and it was based on a protocol. So let's just assume it's women's health. And that protocol feeds lots of different documentation. We were going to use AI to get information from the protocol to a clinical trial form that a patient would sign. Seems easy. However, what happened was in our project, the protocol, which was on women's health, fed the documentation to the clinical trial, but when they checked the clinical trial form, it had butterflies and butterfly larvae in it. I can assure you that that was not in the protocol. That's what we call hallucination, but it was also a problem because we couldn't go forward. We discovered that the challenge we had was that the developers needed to change the model that they were using, but it's things like that, as well as security concerns and costs, that held up my project specifically. I also want to talk a little bit about my journey. So the AI projects that I did work on were in 2023. In 2024, I went to a change management webinar for ProSci, and it was about AI. They were creating an AI model, and it was really interesting. A lot of the change managers interacted with each other, and after the meeting, we got together and we started meeting every 2 weeks. The webinar was on LinkedIn, so we were able to connect with each other, and then we shared information that we learned about what some people were doing. So we had half the group were women, and those women were leading change initiatives primarily with Microsoft Copilot. And then we had men in the group who were really advanced prompt users, and they shared their prompts and their experiences, and I learned a ton of information from that group. So when Microsoft launched Copilot in early of 2024, I bought the license, the personal license, right away. It was like $30 a month, and I wanted to learn how I could use Copilot. I figured that since every company I've ever worked for has been a Microsoft shop, that they would probably use Microsoft. And I didn't want to work on a tool like DALL-E and ChatGPT, which wasn't at any of my companies in that like circle of trust in the security field. And I didn't want to go outside with company information to any of those outside vendors. So I purchased Copilot. And what I also wanted to focus on as a change manager, I wanted to make sure that I understood what I was in for. Is AI so good that I don't need to train people? No, that's not the case at all. AI is not that good, especially for checking information. It is not a good source. It's not a good fact checker. Let's put it that way. And I also wanted to see from a change manager perspective, besides needing to train people, what kind of obstacles I'd come across. And from my perspective, it looked like it definitely was going to be mindset behaviors. And we'll talk a little bit about those and the actual behaviors that people have to go through because it's different. And then I rolled out Copilot Chat, yay, finally this year. And I rolled it out to 20,000 people, both the free version, the Copilot Chat, as well as the Microsoft 365 Copilot version, which is the paid version. The reason I wanted to do this presentation today is because I presented at the PMI New Jersey Symposium in May. At the end of the symposium, I was shocked to realize that I was the only woman who presented on AI. I think we need to make a change, and I'm hoping that this presentation will inspire some other women or other people here to present at the next PMI symposium, though I think the deadline's coming up fast if it hasn't passed already, or the next one that's be coming up in 2027. It would be really helpful if more people got on the stage and talked about their experiences and helped drive AI adoption. The piece also that I realized when I was the only woman who was presenting was that I started to do research, and I found that women were behind men in adopting AI. Here is a chart that shows from 2023 to 2024 with an estimate that women will catch up. I'm hoping that they not only catch up, but they surpass the other groups like men to get ahead. So that's pretty much why I'm here today. And it's about AI and women, AI adoption and women, which we'll go through first. And the part of the challenge is that the AI tools continue to misidentify and misrepresent people based on race and gender, which leads to harmful outcomes in the real world. It's not good. And I hope that I can help people to check for that and minimize it. I'd like you to meet Joy Bolomamwani, and she is an inspiration to me. She is leading the charge on AI bias and eliminating it. So her story, if you want to look it up, check out, I have her link here. It's fascinating. She just signed up at MIT to test a commercial facial recognition software. And that's all she was supposed to do, was go into the lab and see if it would recognize her face. As you probably can guess, it didn't recognize her face at all, which caused her to go and do research. And she found that with 3 commercial AI software applications, 0.8% accuracy for white men. So there was a 0.8% error rate for white men, but a 46% error rate for Black women, which is a significant bias. Today, she builds tools for designers and computer scientists to eliminate that bias while also identifying it. You'll want to remember that because when we talk about prompts, bringing joy into your prompt can help. So AI adoption and trust resistance. It's that I gave you one example, but it's not a surprise then that women have trust issues with AI. Women, particularly of color, have experienced misrepresentation or exclusion in AI outputs, leading to skepticism about fairness. And the AI tools often collect and process personal data. And women aren't happy about that because it raises concerns about how that data is used. My recommendation for that is to use a tool that you trust. For me, I use Microsoft Copilot. People will say, well, do you trust Microsoft? I trust Microsoft. I've been using their applications for years and years and years. They they've had or housed my data. I've never had any problems with that. So I would trust Microsoft over some of the other applications out there that I don't know of. I have used Dolly. I do have a license, a professional enterprise license with ChatGPT. It's just my husband and I, but it's $25 a month. And to me, the security is worth it. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is this last bullet here that says AI will take my job. When I was working on my Copilot launch, I talked to stakeholders, and women particularly said AI will take my job. Mary's view, this is just my opinion, but I believe that you're more likely to lose your job if you don't adopt AI and gain those productivity wins as opposed to resisting it and not using it. If you use it, it does help. And people do track that. They track to see if people are using AI. So I would recommend trying it and seeing if that would work for you, because I really do think it's a part of our future and it's an emerging technology that is important to get into now, especially if you're a woman and you can work on eliminating some of that bias. I talked a little bit about butterfly larvae. If you remember that, what that's called is an AI hallucination. There was nothing in the protocol that mentioned butterflies, and yet it showed up in the documentation. That's what they call an AI hallucination. The example here is what is the capital of Mars? We all know that Mars doesn't even have people, never mind a capital, and yet AI with confidence gives an answer. I put an arrow at the very last point here, which is it's a key challenge for ethical AI and trust. Hallucinations happen a lot. In my experience, I would say 95% of the time, I find a hallucination in the results that I get. It's really important to trust, but verify the information that you get. And it doesn't, the second line here is requires validation and user education. As a change manager, I always talk about AI hallucinations with every group that I work with. Next, we're going to talk about navigating AI, adoption of prompt creation, and we'll spend most of our time here. Gen AI is like having a conversation, no coding needed. And effective prompts lead to better AI responses.
Mary,
Prompting.
we have
So the
a
introduction
question.
to AI prompts is basically how we talk to AI. An AI prompt is just text that you provide to Copilot. Back in 2024, when I got Copilot, there was very little information out there. So I treated my prompts like a Google search. 1 or 2 words, that is not the best way to do it. It can be as simple as a phrase or as complex or a sentence or paragraph. Often mine end up being more like a paragraph, but a prompt needs to have at least 6 words to give you the best results. How you structure and format your prompt is also important. I was creating a LinkedIn profile image, the picture, and my arrows were just, I wasn't happy with the old way and the new way, wasn't happy with it. And I had a prompt and it was close. It was almost there. And I had been trying for quite a few weeks, actually, trying to get this right. And I just took the last sentence, I put it in the first, as the first sentence, and the image came out perfect. I don't know why, but sometimes something simple like that can help you achieve the results that you want. Here is a picture of the Copilot prompt gallery. You'll notice project managers, there is a section for you. Unfortunately, change managers, we do not make it on the board yet, but this is an area where you can go to get project manager prompts. You can go to every tool has something like this. This is the Copilot one, and I'm pretty sure project management is probably in all of them. So these prompts will help you so you're not starting from scratch, and it'll give you ideas on how you can start using prompts. Here is a prompt that I created. You can see that it's pretty big. You don't need to read it. I will read the key pieces to you. And then what we're going to do next is see the results. So I was leading a Copilot launch across a large enterprise, and I was doing it in the next few weeks. I was looking for help on project management experience and training materials. There was going to be no project manager for this, and the training materials were really, really hard to find. I did add to the prompt that the CEO had introduced the initiative at a company-wide town hall that was global. And it created a top-down momentum, but also meant that our project had to go super fast. The rest of my prompt I have here, I'm not going to go through, but I am going to call out the two pieces in bold. I found that it's super helpful to add some references for AI so that it doesn't go out and do whatever it wants. So here I have foresight ADKAR, which is a change management methodology, and then I have the PMBOK. By adding those two things, it helps AI learn, first of all, what I like, and then also where the boundaries are that I want it to go to. So before we go to the results, I also want to mention that I keep an experts list. And I add these experts to my prompt. So you will see that Joy here is down here. I want to make sure that there are no bias in my prompts. So I will create in my prompt, I will add this to the prompt that says eliminate bias. Tell me what Joy would say in my current prompt, and then also check for bias, and then also give me the sources that you know there is no bias in here. The other one that I use that's super popular is from Alexandra Samuel. I use this all the time. We're going to talk a little bit about her coming up. She's an AI tech journalist, and she's like where I want to go when it comes to AI. She gives me a better understanding of what we can do with AI compared to what I can do now. I consider myself a beginner, but I am experienced. What I don't do with AI and what I don't see companies doing necessarily is having really good ROI goals for their initiatives. AI is super, I think it's changing a lot. So it's an emerging technology, and I think that companies are expecting a lot to come out of AI without exactly knowing exactly how to set up for that. So we will talk a little bit about these, but I just did want to call out that I will add these people to my prompts. Henry Gant is one of my favorites as well. Whenever I'm looking at a project plan to ask, what would Henry Gant say about this project plan?
Mary, if you
Remember,
want
I
to
had
take a
that
break
really
for a
long.
second, we've got a bunch of questions in the chat that maybe Stella could ask.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Mary?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. One of the questions that came up was, do you have to pay to access the Copilot gallery? Do you need the paid version of Copilot?
You do have to get Copilot. As of like 3 weeks ago, it was free, but now it's not, unless you have Copilot.
Okay. And then the other question was, what are your thoughts as to the underlying cause of AI bias? And what are your prescriptions for addressing this issue? Recommendations to AI creators, regulations. Most importantly, how do we as users and consumers mitigate these issues?
So I would say, first of all, going backwards, I like to use those AI prompts to try and get rid of bias. Obviously, you could probably get a session with Joy and have her go through that at her company. There are probably other companies that can help eliminate AI bias. I believe the cause is from training models that just use the internet, and those companies used whatever was predominantly out there going back in history. So white males are predominant in, if you go back in history and you look at all the materials that are out there, and I think that's why there's more information, but I don't know for sure if that's actually the fact. Did I answer everything?
I think what they're also looking for is if there's anything specific in the input that can impact bias. Is there any way to be conscious of how you create the prompt to avoid any kind of biasness? And then, and what I've heard you say is that you look at the response and then go back and prompt it again.
Yes, I think I don't have this experience, but I've heard that a lot of people in HR have been able to detect bias. I would imagine that it's analysis, but I don't honestly know because I have not detected bias in my own examples that I know of.
And is there any way in data that you can pick up bias in terms of how AI is putting the data together? Have you used it with spreadsheets?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Well, I'm just wondering, in a spreadsheet where you have data that's being pulled from AI, do you have a way of detecting some of the bias? Are there some recommended practices that you do in terms of testing the AI response?
No, not that I have done. I've done basically stuff on my own work. I haven't done anything like that. Sorry, no.
Okay.
I think we would have to go to experts for that.
Okay. Okay. I think that's about it. And if you have questions, could you please put it into the Q&A? Oh, and there was the question about, have you heard about Claude? And do you know or have an opinion on their privacy policy?
I don't know about Claude, sorry.
Okay. That's it at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I was going to talk next about the results. So if you remember, I had a prompt about the challenges I was facing because I didn't have a project manager and because I couldn't find training materials. The results that I got from Copilot here say filling in for a project manager, and then the feedback was, you're already wearing the PM hat. Here's how you finalize it. That wasn't actually what I was looking for, but AI was right. They did expect me to fill the PM hat. So what I love about this information that this result gave me was that the very last piece here says tip, use PMI's AI and project management resources, which was great because I had heard about PMI's AI tool, but I hadn't actually tried it. Before I go to the next slide, I do want to call out a hallucination. I created this image here, and the prompt had been to have AI presenting to a group of teams about AI. You will see that this presenter has 3 arms, and I didn't catch it at first. So sometimes hallucinations are hard to catch because there is this blue and the coloring, it kind of all blended in. So you do have to check your images and your content very carefully. All right, so I'm going to now follow the PMI AI link. It asked me to open up this link. It did say www.pmi.org, so I did follow that and trusted that that was correct and was going to the PMI Infinity prompts, or the PMI Infinity tool. You do not need to try and read this. It is results from the tool. It's gray font with a gray background. It's not easy to read. I can tell you though, What I was looking for, I didn't get. So from both Copilot and PMI Infinity, they both had similar responses, but what was missing was what are the challenges that, as me filling in as the project manager, what kind of challenges am I going to have? It didn't mention a project plan, milestones, and my personal favorite, dependencies. A change manager is often in charge of communications and training. We are last in the list, and I always want to know who am I dependent on and what are their deadlines. And if I don't know that, then I am very, very nervous because then often my time is squeezed. It didn't mention any of those things, which I would have expected. I believe that inexperienced people will have a harder time catching these things than experienced people. Those of us that have been around the block quite a few times may have more of an idea of what I would need, not having a project manager and just having to try and fill in. Here are some adoption tips to help you. These helped me. The first one is trying to use AI daily. I did struggle with this. I started off creating images in PowerPoint, and images take a long time. So I would put in my prompt, I'd go get a cup of coffee, I'd come back, my images would be done, and then they wouldn't be good enough. So I would have to do another image, go get a drink of water, come back. So it was hard for me to use daily. I did, though, once I started using AI for summarizing meetings and thinking of ways that I could use AI, like finding the best restaurant in town, then I started using it daily. I do use it now, probably like 5 hours a day, though I did work on a lot of projects and I just rolled out Copilot and I was in charge of training. So I did get exposed to a lot of information that helps me to get over that hurdle of using AI all the time. I did talk to a lot of people who said I use AI a lot, and I wasn't quite sure what they were using it for, which we'll talk a little bit about in the next slide. The other thing that's super important is collaboration. The reason I asked you to share your LinkedIn profile in the chat is so that you can all work together and learn from each other. I learned a lot from LinkedIn because LinkedIn is more real time. YouTube is still pretty useless from a training perspective. Never in my life did I ever think I was going to go out to the internet to find training materials for my company's launch of a project. And this is a new way of looking at things. And it's really hard. It was hard for me to find. I must have looked at hundreds of videos trying to find training materials for people. LinkedIn was the best place that I learned to get information from because people would talk about videos that were helpful. Peer support was super helpful. Demystifying jargon, when we had that butterfly larvae show up in the form, they called it hallucinations, and I just asked, I'm like, what is hallucinations? What does that mean? You're going to probably run into jargon, and I'm assuming that as AI develops, there will be new jargon. Feel free to ask. I don't think anybody's an expert yet, and I think it's totally appropriate to ask what something means. The other piece here is sharing use cases. For example, I created a video in just 2 minutes using AI. I was on LinkedIn and I saw Tim Creasy, who works for ProSci, telling us about his AI journey, and he had an example of how a Microsoft vendor taught him how he could create an AI video, which means that he put in the PowerPoint deck and AI Copilot created a video with the deck and AI, with an AI voice and like summarization. And I shared that video. I created one myself for a teammate who I was trying to show her how to summarize meetings. And she said it was a game changer. And she loved it so much that I shared it with two of my friends, one in Europe and one in the UK, one in Germany. And they loved it too. And it was a big deal for a lot of people. And I didn't realize that my little video was such a such a great thing for people. It was shared on Viva, Engage, and like lots and lots of people loved it. So don't underestimate what you may be doing, may be helpful for others. Share your use cases. Let people know what you've done and how you've done it, because you could be making a world of difference for somebody, even if you think that it wasn't that important for you. And then collaboration also builds confidence. It helps you talk more about AI. I had a friend of mine who reached out to me because he wasn't finding Excel to be working for him, and I suggested that he use in Copilot Analyst, and because in Copilot Excel is not the best tool to use, but they have this agent that they call Analyst, and if you use that, it will help you. And he responded to me right away and was able to get his agent working. So collaboration is very, very helpful. And then the last point here is that women often exhibit more empathy and emotional intelligence. Use those abilities to excuse, use those abilities to guide ethical AI use and watch for AI bias. These are things that you can look for. And like I said, there's a lot that people have seen in HR. So you can do a Google search on Workday. There was something recent there where they saw bias, as well as Amazon when they were recruiting people. And those articles may tell you how they discovered it and what they were doing to fix it. There is a prompt do's and don'ts out there that Microsoft has. It is free. Everybody can get it. And I'm not going to go through all of these because I know I am probably short on time. I do want to touch, though, on the do's and the don'ts that I've added to this. Some of the do's are ask Copilot what it needs. This was really amazing for me when I was creating images, and I asked Copilot what it needed from me. I had seen that somebody else had done that, and it was amazing. Copilot gave me a big list of things that I needed to consider. Some of them I didn't include, like what style do I want my image to be in, because I didn't really know the styles. But it's super helpful if you ask Copilot what it needs, because it helps you think about your prompt and figure out what it is that you actually want in the end. Tone is super important. I was able to train my AI pretty quickly when I just continually asked it to be in a professional business tone. And at work, it immediately just started doing that. Eliminating bias, use the article about joy to write a prompt. So you can go back to I think it was slide 6, and talk about what her article was, that MIT article. You put that in your prompt, and you can help guide AI and their results. And then what you're doing is also teaching AI. So you want to continue to do that. For the don'ts, don't trust the results. AI comes across as very confident, but you do need to check it and don't believe everything that it says. I did want to go through some of the things that I've created, because when I was new, I didn't know what people were doing with AI, and all these people were saying they were using it every day. And I wanted to share some of the things that I've done in case that's something that might resonate with you if you're new to this. Meeting summaries. I was the person who would summarize every meeting because I found them, being new, super helpful. But then also a lot of people would forget to do it, and I would always do it. So for my meeting summaries, there'd be a prompt at the bottom of the meeting, and I would just ask for AI to summarize the meeting and give all the actions by person and bulleted, and it would do that for me. I also would always ask it to put AI, this is AI generated content, so that nobody thought the meeting notes were from me. I would check it quickly, and then I would post it in chat. I usually didn't have time to go through it thoroughly, so I liked having that little disclaimer in there. Polling summary, this was an amazing experience for me. We had our first 2 training sessions, and we gathered 1,000 responses. So those 2 training sessions were on one day. It was 2 weeks ago. And AI created a 15-page deck, which you might think that that's a lot, but when I showed it to management and the project team, they were fine with 15 pages of content. What AI did was it identified the themes and it broke them all out and then put them on different slides. So some slides might have only 2 bullets on it, but that was okay because it was helpful for people to process the information. And then as a special bonus that I really loved was in the speaker notes, I found the comments that people made, and these were all anonymous comments in the polls, but it told you, first of all, it made me feel good that AI was actually using my data, but then it told you the source of what AI was using. The only thing that it didn't have, and I think this is a fair thing because speaker notes can only fit so much information, and it was a lot of data, is it only put one person's feedback. So a slide could represent only one person or 150 people and their feedback. But because I read the results, I knew which ones were resonant with a lot of people. For example, the training went too quickly and it was too overwhelming for people, as opposed to somebody who had this one particular thing that they wanted to improve on. AI is also amazing at seeing things from a different angle. You can use AI to ask it questions or to take a different perspective and give you feedback or look at things differently. And that is super helpful. It's kind of like having an intern or somebody to check things with you. And it helps without having to go and bother your friends and get information back or feedback. One of the best things that I did, and I have it in here, is a transition document. So 2 days before my end date, a manager asked me to create a transition document that had all my contacts and all my assets. That's a daunting task nowadays with all the information that we have. And don't forget, I had all those meeting summaries. And I used AI and I basically asked it to pull all my files, and I did the contacts myself, but all my files, and go to SharePoint as well as to all my other information. And Copilot M365 does have access, anything I had access to, it had access to give me. So it pulled all my files. It had this awesome introductory note at the beginning that explained my transition and how I wanted to help other people continue to use my work, which was terrific. I didn't change anything there. The challenge I did have was that the links that it gave me, which were great, and it had the names, anything on my personal drive, the link didn't work. I spent 2 days going through my entire documents, pages, trying to find those. Well, I could find them using AI, but getting those links and filling them in. So it took me 2 days, but it would not have been nearly as comprehensive if I didn't have AI. The next one here is feedback. The questions that you can ask it is like, what would a difficult boss say to my presentation? That one was super helpful for me. And then this one I haven't actually tried, but it's in a future slide. It's in something by Alexandra Samuel, and I highly recommend that you listen to her piece. But her idea was, give me 10 reasons why my idea is a terrible idea. And by the way, give me published research within the last 5 years. That's super helpful. I really love that her idea is to actually say my idea is a terrible idea, because AI was built to be friendly. It wants to be friends. I think it has a hard time giving you real feedback. So something like that would be an effective prompt or something to add to your prompt. And then the video that I mentioned before was something I've created, and it was super helpful for a lot of people. Some great sources. I told you that I had a really hard time finding training. Lisa Crosby from Microsoft, I think she's from Microsoft, had great videos, and we were able to use some of these for our training. Highly recommend checking her site out. Microsoft also has vast, almost too much information about adoption, which is, it's great to see adoption materials out there, but there's an awful lot of it. The challenge with Microsoft is that from a branding perspective, they will use Copilot Chat or Copilot, my M365 Chat, all as one big thing. The branding is kind of confusing, and I had to eliminate a lot of their materials because I knew it would confuse users. And then this last piece, the Harvard Business Review, I have this one last because my next slide's going to focus on it. And this is a podcast that talks about the things that I can't do yet in AI, but I want to. This is how to build advanced prompts. And this source is great. It's 35 minutes, but totally worth it. I've listened to this video. It only came out in July, and I've listened to it about 7 times already. How to build an AI assistant for any challenge. It's basically a podcast where 2 people are asking Alexandra Samuel questions about how she uses prompts. And I'm going to go through this prompt that she talks about in the podcast. The goal is building a future prompt from work you've done. So oftentimes I will build a prompt and then build a prompt, and then they'll build on each other as I go through the steps of my work. And here she says, can you use these prompt sessions we've had to create a memo that would instruct AI to write reports? I want you to look at what worked well. This is the part I love. Take note of where I got frustrated. And I want you to note any specific information you picked up about my job, my business, my working parameters, my tone. And I want you to turn that into a bulleted instruction that I can paste into an AI as the bias for future sessions. That was all one prompt. I just put it in bullets for easier readability. And then you can take that prompt that AI gives you and put it, for example, in Microsoft in an agent. Or you can put it into, she calls it an AI assistant. Every what do you call them? These different AI tools have this ability to build an advanced prompt, and that's what this would be. And the link is there, as well as a link to her newsletter. Also, I wanted to give
Mary?
a call out to the PMI Prompt Engineering for Project Managers. It's free for PMI members. I did this in 2024. It was super helpful. I will say, though, it is not a 1-hour course. I know it says course duration is an hour. Maybe that's what it is if you just play the whole thing through all at once. But this is not the kind of class that you can do that, at least not for me. I had to stop and try it. It took me a total of about 2 weeks, but it is a really helpful resource.
Mary,
And now,
we have a
hopefully
question
I'm not too far
in
behind time. Q&A.
we have questions in Q&A. Can you hear me?
I can now.
Go ahead, Stella.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. We have a question from Valerie, and she says, do you recommend the AI training in LinkedIn Learning? If so, how does it compare with what you shared? And if not, why?
It's a great question. I have not used LinkedIn Learning at all, so I don't have an opinion on that. It's probably pretty good, but I haven't tried that.
Okay, and then there was a comment earlier, not in questions, but somebody was asking who in an organization is the person who is most responsible for making sure what true north is.
I'm sorry, I missed the last 2 words.
The true north, or what is truth?
Oh, true north.
Yeah.
I can only speak to my project that actually launched, and it was the CEO. The CEO had an earnings call in July, I believe, and announced in the earnings call that we were going to launch AI. That's kind of the true north, because then we knew that it was public and we had to do it. And he was super excited about it. It is why we were so successful in launching our initiative. He was very, very supportive and just encouraged everybody to use it. I don't know if every company would be like that, but if you can get the top executive to promote whatever it is that you're doing, and AI is no exception to that, you do get a better adoption rate.
So you are recommending that somebody does play that role of being true north? That there
I
be
think
somebody
so. I mean,
who
I
is
felt like our
responsible
CEO
for that.
played that role.
Okay, thank you. And there is another question here from Michael. And actually it's an FYI. Copilot is included with Office 365 for personal family accounts and not for business.
I lost the last part, but yes, it is included.
Yes, on family accounts. He's saying for personal and family accounts.
Oh, okay. I just got personal because I only wanted it for myself.
Okay. And are the panelists' mics unmuted? Elaine or John?
Panelists are unmuted, yes.
Okay, so if the people have questions that has not been answered, please speak now. And Mary, you'll be very happy to know that in the chat, people have been giving their LinkedIn connections and being very, very much into sharing and opening up resources. So it's been really wonderful to see all that. Good.
I won't be able to see it, but I'm glad that people are connecting. That's helpful.
Oh, you will be able to see it because I copied it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mary for tonight? If so, please put them in the Q&A box now. And in the meantime, I'm just going to go through a couple of reminders that you will be receiving a survey. Please complete it and we will submit for 1 PDU. The slides of Mary's presentation, which you can see has a lot of great information and links and everything, will be posted on the website along with the recording. So take a look at that as well. And then finally, Rachel Margolis, who's on the call with us. Rachel leads the chapter's meetups, and she's been posting in the chat several events that are coming up. There's something this week on September 18th, and then there are 2 events in October. So check it out, and it's a great way to, have fun, to make new connections, to network, and maybe even talk about AI. So who knows? So thanks, Rachel, for posting all that. And Stella, it looks like there might be a couple of questions in there.
Yes, there is a question from Mary Jo. She wanted to go back to your first statement, Mary, about the 9 attempts, and she wanted to know about the 8 that didn't launch, and what was the decision to stop when you decided. Was it the same for all 8, or were they varied by a lot?
They were all different, a lot. I would say so, definitely more than 1 for security concerns and more than 1 for cost concerns. The other projects were slower to get to move forward, and part of that was that the vendors were not signed up yet, or they had delays. Maybe it was part of the team. I don't remember the details. I just know that one of them was moving super fast. but most of it was about, I mean, it was an experiment, and that's the interesting part. I think that the organization was still working through how to go forward with this and to make sure that they get something that's of value. Hopefully that helped.
And there was another question about any suggestions on AI counselor for newbies or courses for newbies.
Oh, I think the prompt engineering class from PMI was really, really good. I was a newbie when I took that one. It gives you a lot of instruction and guidance. It's a lot, but it was really, really helpful for me. And even if you don't finish it, it's a good way to begin, because they start at the beginning and they take you through it, and you can go day by day instead of going in all at once. So it doesn't get too overwhelming for you.
And were there a cost associated with it, Mary, or were they for free?
I'm sorry?
The PMI courses, were there a cost associated with it?
Nope, that one was free for PMI members. I can put the link in the chat if that helps,
That'd be great.
if I can find the chat. The other thing I would say is I hope that I've inspired at least one person to take the stage and talk about AI and help lead AI adoption.
Okay, well, thank you, Mary, so much. This was excellent. Stella, thanks for being the co-pilot for Mary. Everyone, thanks for joining, and we'll see you again at another event very soon. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks,
Bye.
Elaine. Thank you.